We have a critical weekly candle close coming for crypto. What I'm talking about is Bitcoin, which is still the driver of this crypto market. If it has more room to pump here, that is going to be very good for a lot of these altcoins. However, if it actually dumps from here, which I think we have that is a smaller chance now, that is still going to be very bad for the altcoins. What I'm talking about is what I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, which is this rising wedge pattern, which is a bearish pattern. For you guys who are new to this market, I know there's quite a bit of newcomers in this market who are kind of early right now. And some of these patterns you got to be paying attention to, which are very obviously bearish or bullish patterns. And rising wedges are usually bearish patterns that break to the downside. What I'm talking about would be this. Okay, still very important to be paying attention to this weekly time frame here, which is if we actually end up like this with a slightly higher high comparing to the previous high here, and we have a lower high on the RSI, that's called bearish divergence, and that means there's usually going to be a pullback here. And we're still in this bearish pattern, okay? So very important to be paying attention to this weekly candle close right now, and it's coming in about a day, okay? Now, I talked about a few other time frames to be paying attention to for Bitcoin. We're going to get into that later because I never trade altcoins without a clear understanding of Bitcoin. That is the driver of this crypto market. You have to remember that. I am long on Bitcoin. I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here, so my opinions on this market is bullish right now. However, like the entirety of this video, these are just my opinions and not financial advice. You guys gotta form your own opinions and strategies. I'm also gonna be responding to a few viewer comments, both constructive and not so constructive, which is fine. It's gonna be fun. And we're also gonna be taking a look into a few altcoin setups. Today we're gonna be doing some meme coins. I think it is gonna be a good time to be talking about meme coins, especially if this thing if Bitcoin actually breaks out of this bearish pattern. That would be very bullish. We're going to be talking about PNUT the Squirrel. We're going to be talking about Moo Deng. We're going to be talking about Turbocoin. See what their trading setups and price targets are later in this video. But first of all, let's get to the fun part, which are viewer comments, okay? Viewer comments. So first is a comment by Casino How 9986 in October what day? This is in response to my yesterday's Gala video, which I think what he's talking about is I talked about a potential breakout here for Gala, okay, on yesterday's video. Let me go ahead and bring that up because I do want to address that, okay? Because I want to address this is going to be a question I'm going to keep getting over and over again, and I think that's fine because when I was new to the markets, that is something I thought about over and over again as well, which is basically when will a token get to a certain price? Okay, that is a very that is a very common way of thinking, especially for beginners. I've seen over the years, right? And there's gonna be people telling you their price targets, right, by a certain time. I don't believe in that, right? Because that's gonna imply that this person knows, his methodology is going to know that by what time this amount of money is going to come into the market and push the price up. I don't believe in that because I don't think there's a methodology that would tell you how much money is going to come in at a certain time, right? I think, based on my technical analysis, that tells me how likely is the market going to be moving in one direction. That's what it tells me. In some cases, it could tell me about what time, the move is going to come. But it's not going to tell me at what time am I going to get to a certain price level, right? So, that's just what I'm going to tell you, right? And I'll tell you that, and if you guys follow my videos, you guys would know what I mean, okay, and how I do this. And a lot of it has been coming true as expected, right? But that is one thing I cannot tell you. However, let's come back to Gala here. Gala, I talked about a falling wedge pattern, which is a bullish pattern. And if it breaks out by this point, for example, that will give Gala a price target of about 11 cents. However, price targets are estimates only. There could be more, there could be less. Okay, nothing in this market is 100%. It's not going to get to a certain price at a certain time 100%. Okay, I don't believe in that. Now, that is a price target, which is an estimate. I also talked about a smaller falling wedge pattern here on this 3-day time frame. 3-day time frame here is a falling wedge pattern, again a smaller one. If it breaks out by here, for example, price target would be about almost 2.5 cents price targets. Now, also have to mind the downside risk of the falling wedges as well, because they still have a smaller chance of breaking to the downside. Let's go ahead and come to the next comment. I'm buying Gala and IMX. Let's get rich. Okay, that's cool. Now the next one here. Do you think CeeLo gonna break out soon? Doing really well the last 2 days. Let's take a look into CeeLo. Okay, what has this coin been doing? Talked about a falling wedge pattern on this weekly time frame, right? And falling wedges, like I said, okay, got to be paying attention because it has a higher chance of breaking to the upside. On this weekly time frame, it looks like CeeLo has tried to break out here, okay, as we see a huge wick, and that got rejected at the weekly 50 SMA. It looks like about 45 cents. Let's come over here to the daily time frame and see what has been doing. Daily time frame, I also talked about the smaller falling wedge pattern that looks like CeeLo is still trying to break out of it. It broke out of it, but it looks like it's coming back to the upper trend line for a retest. If this candle actually ends up closing above this upper trend line, this breakout is still valid. And the next thing it could be trying to do is break out this bigger falling wedge pattern. Very important to be paying attention to what's happening right now, right? Let's go ahead and go to the next comment. He says it will explode for Optimism coin. I think a lot of these altcoins, most of these altcoins will be exploding as long as the one given factor, which is Bitcoin, continues its bull cycle. All right. Next one here. I think I've already answered this. Great video, brother. Yesterday, another video for crypto and GRT said is potentially going to 75 cents by the end of 2025. What do you think about that? Now, like I said, I'm not a big fan of putting a price level by a certain date. But let's take a look into GRT here. Okay, I'll give you some of my 2 cents again for GRT here. Because I could take a little bit longer today since we're not doing the news section, right? I talked about this weekly time frame. Some things to be paying attention to. So is it possible? So 75 cents, that's almost a 10x for GRT. Is it possible that GRT does a 10x, right, by the end of September? Let's just take a look into what happened last bull cycle, okay, which started back in December 2020, and it went from about 3 cents to almost $3. That's almost, that's almost 100x, right, in a matter of few weeks. I'm not really sure what the tokenomics are for GRT this cycle, right? So that aside, right, it's possible, but I would just, that is not the most important question for me, right? The more important question for me is, I don't think there's a method. What is the methodology that tells me that this is going to get to a certain price level at a certain time? I don't think there's a methodology that can tell you how much money is going to be coming in by a certain time, right? If people say that there are methodologies that could do that, what is the success rate in those methods in that coming true, right? So I think the more important question is, what if it doesn't reach that price level, right? That's the more important question, and that is a big part of risk management, because if it doesn't reach that price level, I don't want to come away empty-handed, right? I want to come away with a profit. That is the name of the game. I don't care if I make a certain amount by a certain time. I want to just lock in some profits so I don't come away this bull cycle empty-handed, and I come away as much as possible, right? So, like I said, for my spot positions, I usually do a 3 to 5x target, right? Depending on the market cap. And if the setup starts looking like it's going to come back down, I will be open to taking those profits sooner. That is just my way of thinking, right? Of course, not financial advice. That's just how I do it, just to make sure that I lock in profits. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next comment here. We still have some time. So I did, and so can you update sushi swap? Thanks. So I already did. You guys can take a look at that. Hold render. Yeah, that's cool. Now I'm not condoning anyone to hold anything. Okay, I'm just responding. Okay. Like that's cool. Whatever you're doing. Need another review for Zora. Already done that. Okay, so yeah. Let's go ahead and go to some altcoin setups now. All right. Altcoin setups. Let's take a look into Moo Deng first. See what's happening with Moo Deng, the meme coin. Weekly time frame here. Weekly time frame. This is Moo Deng. It broke out of this falling wedge pattern, and you guys should be paying attention to the falling wedge patterns. For any newbies in this market, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming up in the next couple of weeks. I see the Google Trends search term. As you guys can see here, this is how I track retail interests, right? It's curving back up, okay? So I am expecting more retail interests and more new YouTuber views on my channel. So I'm gonna tell you guys from like I'm talking to some newbies here, right? So yeah, falling wedges you guys should be paying attention to. Rising wedges you guys should be paying attention to. Those are going to be probably the easiest to chart, because falling wedges have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. This is all a game of probability. It's all a game of chance. Nothing in this market is 100%. Okay. Price target for this breakout here is about 29 cents. Still valid breakout because the price action hasn't reached its price target, and it is still above this upper trend line of the pattern it broke out of. Now, since the breakout here, it has also formed a double bottom pattern here, which is also a bullish pattern that has a higher chance of breaking to the upside. And the neckline here is going to be about 25 cents. Price target is about 38 cents. Since the double bottom here, it has trying to get on, break out of it, right? Working its way up to 25 cents. And on the daily time frame, let's zoom into a lower time frame to get more clarity. Daily time frame here, price target for this breakout here, it broke out of this smaller falling wedge pattern. Price target would be about almost 22 cents. Daily 21 SMA is going to be your immediate resistance. Daily 50 SMA is going to be your immediate support on this time frame. Let's go ahead and go to Turbo. Turbo here. This is the weekly time frame. Falling wedge pattern. Turbo broke out of this one back in February. Price target still valid, which is about 1 cent price target. Been working its way back up to almost that price target there. I mean, not quite there, but the breakout's still valid, okay? Daily time frame. Daily time frame, it has broken out of a few patterns here. Okay, broken out of the smaller falling wedge pattern. Price target, it would be about 0.63 cents. Since the breakout here, it has been going down quite a bit, but this breakout is still valid. Formed another falling wedge pattern here. If it breaks out by here, for example, price target would be about 0.58 cents. Now, these price targets are going to depend a lot on what happens with Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin starts dumping from here, these altcoin setups are not going to matter very much. Let's go ahead and go to PNUT the Squirrel. PNUT the Squirrel. This is a falling wedge pattern over and over again. Okay, this is how you get an edge on the markets. PNUT the Squirrel price target for this breakout here is going to be about 42 cents. Since the breakout back in June, it has formed a few more patterns here. One of which is going to be another falling wedge pattern. Price target here is going to be about 30 cents. And then zoom into the coming back to the 3-day time frame here. There's also a double bottom. Neckline of this double bottom is going to be about 28.5 cents. Price target is going to be about 38 cents. So this is basically what I'm seeing for a lot of these meme coins. Let me know if you guys want to see any other coins in this market. I'll pick a request to you for you guys on a daily basis. Or if you guys want to continue seeing any more of PNUT, Turbo, Moo Deng, make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, letting me know. And I'll see you on the next one.